From New York, here is I've Got a Secret, starring Steve Allen. Hi, gang. Good evening. Welcome once again to the Aragon Ballroom. Good evening. Welcome to I've Got a Secret. And we'll start things right off now by meeting the members of our panel who are, of course, Betsy Palmer, Bill Cullen, Bess Meyerson, and Henry Morgan. And now, may we have our first contestant, please? Would you tell us your name, please, and where you're from?
Ginny Chu, Chicago, Illinois.
That name probably sounds familiar to you, panel, because, I imagine you recognize this young lady. She has been a concert pianist for more than half her life, which has been going on for several years now. Ginny, how old are you?
12 years old.
Mm-hmm. I understand that you're going to give a Carnegie Hall concert soon. Is that correct?
That's right, October 22nd.
Fine. Well, as long as we have a piano right here and you're with us this evening, would you honor us by giving us a little preview of what that concert might be like?
Of course.
Fine. Here is Ginny 2 playing a special arrangement of Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee. That was something in the nature of a prelude to your concert and also to your secret. So if you'll whisper that secret to me, we'll let the audience know what it is. All right, Ginny, if you'll come over here to the desk with me, we'll see if the panel has any luck in figuring out your secret. Concerns something unusual about her concert career, panel, and we'll begin the game with Henry Morgan.
Ginny, does it have to do with your future career?
No.
Past?
No.
Points irrelevant.
Oh. Something to do with your concert career that goes on all the time?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Is anybody else mentioned in your secret?
No.
Is this something that you do regularly?
Yes.
Does it have anything to do with practicing?
No.
Well, there's a connection with practicing, yes.
Does it have something to do with, say, some special kind of exercising you do?
No.
$20 down, 60 to go. Betsy.
The arrangement that you played, Ginny, of The Flight of the Bumblebee is an arrangement that has been played before. I mean, when I was a young girl with Boogie Woogie and all. Now, is it that you learn this music by ear, all of the music that you've ever done?
As I mentioned before, Ginny has been performing as a concert pianist for quite a few years, and she's been playing highly complicated concert music in the original arrangements. It's fairly easy, I know as a pianist myself, to do that with popular and jazz kind of things, but being able to play legitimate classical music by ear is really fantastic. I play by ear, but I can't do that at ear at all. And she has never used a score at any time because, as you all now know, she does not read a note of music. She learns everything she plays, classical or popular or whatever, by just listening to somebody else playing it, and then she does it. Really fantastic. Ginny, I imagine the time it takes you to learn some of these songs varies depending on how complicated the piece is. I remember quite a few years ago, your father brought you into my office out in Hollywood, and he asked me to go over to the piano and just play something, and I did, and you sat right down and played it, and I think you were about that big at the time. It was remarkable. But on a complicated song, how long does it take you to learn how to play?
Oh, an hour or so.
Unbelievable. You're not the only musician in your family, are you?
No, I have two sisters and one brother.
I see. Well, we're going to meet them right now, too. So let's open the curtains, please, and we'll meet some more of Ginny's talented family. First of all, we would like you to meet Elizabeth, who is 8 years old. 9 years old, I'm sorry. It's been a long afternoon. And then there is Vicky, who is 9 years old. 10. All right. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And Alexander, who is 47, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm sorry, you're 13, right, 13. Alexander? Good, at least I got one right. And you're all going to perform at Carnegie Hall, are you?
Yes.
Well, good for you. Okay, here now is Ginny Tew with her brother and sisters playing her own composition, the Tew Rock. Thanks to all of you very much for joining us tonight. We'll be looking for you at Carnegie Hall, and good luck with the concert. We'll be back in just a minute with our next contestant, but first, get a load of this. Now may we have our next contestants, please. Nice to have you with us. Would you tell us your name, please, and where you're from?
It's Elodie McQuillan, and I'm from Anderson, Indiana.
That's Mrs. McQuillan, panel, from Anderson, Indiana. Now, we noticed, Mrs. McQuillan, that you came in carrying the strong box. May I ask what is in there?
Well, that's 89 uncashed checks.
89 uncashed checks. I'm sure they have something to do with your secret, so will you whisper to me what the checks are for? Uh-huh. A little more of that. Well, as we told you, panel, the clue to Mrs. McQuillan's McSecret concerns the McChecks and the McStage box here. And we'll start the game with Bill Cullen.
Mrs. McQuillan, are these checks made out to you?
Yes, they are.
Were they in payment for something you did?
No.
Were they gifts?
Indirectly.
Indirect gifts?
That might mislead you, though, a little bit, so you better assume a no on that.
Did all of these checks arrive at approximately the same time?
No.
They arrived regularly and you haven't cashed them?
That's right.
Is it some computer that lost its head or something like that?
No.
Were they sent...
$20 down. Yes?
Mrs. McQuillan, were they sent to you by the government?
No.
Were they sent to you by famous people?
No.
Did you have to do something to earn these checks? Was it some service that you performed?
No.
Were they sent to you by mistake?
No.
This is a tough one, Pam.
Now, were they sent to you by people you knew?
No.
Anybody we would know?
Possibly.
No one famous, if that's what you mean, no.
From, any other place but the United States. Were they sent to you from abroad?
No.
$40 down, 40 to go. Henry?
Ma'am, these were sent by more than one person?
They were sent by a company. I'll give you that little hint. All the same outfit.
Did you ever do anything for that company?
No.
Were the checks for any considerable amount of money? Were they around $100 apiece?
No.
Small checks?
Right.
Does this whole thing have anything to do at all with a mistake?
No.
Are you on a list that you're not supposed to be on?
No.
Does it come... Oh.
$60 down. You were getting warm there a moment back, Henry. There's a little hint for Betsy.
Mrs. McQuillan, are you an investor in something? Did you invest in a corporation or in some business?
No, I did not.
So this is not remuneration that way?
Well, in a sense it is, but nevertheless the answer to your question
I mean,
is
are you
no.
a stockholder in something?
Yes.
Are you a stockholder in I've Got a Secret? No.
No.
You're a stockholder in something that our government is involved in?
No.
A stockholder in something that has to do with Indiana?
No.
$80 down. Well, this is, as I say, a very, very tough one. The 89 checks in the strong box are Mrs. McQuillan's monthly dividend checks from the share that she inherited in an oil well in 1958. And in case you think she has not cashed these checks because she doesn't need the money, well, you're right in a sense, because all 89 checks add up to a grand total of $5.72. Some of these checks certainly have interesting amounts on them, Mrs. McQuillan. What is the smallest check here?
1 cent.
Well, that's the one I have then on the top. I guess you can't get a picture of it, but right there it says 1 cent. From there, of course, there's no place to go but up. What's the largest check you have here?
10 cents.
Well, I know that 572 is not, a big hunk of change, but why have you not cashed any of the checks?
Well, I cashed the first 2 that I got by giving them to an ice cream man, and they were for 7 cents apiece. And the next week he asked me, please not to give him any more because it cost him 20 cents.
Well, what about the company that sends you these checks? Don't they get annoyed?
Well, they send me letters complaining, but I'd rather keep the checks and be amused.
You can save the letters, too, and have thousands of those. Come back on the program some other time. Well, we checked this out with a cost analysis firm, and we found out that it costs the company 12 cents every time it sends her one of these checks. And if you multiply that by 89, Mrs. McQuillan, your 572 cost the oil well company $10.68. Not to mention the panic in the bookkeeping department, because they don't get their canceled checks back. Have you anything to say, my good woman, in your defense?
Well, if they make the checks larger, then I'll cash them.
Fair enough. We admire your spirit. Thanks so much for being here with us tonight. We'll meet our special guest, Buddy Hackett, in just a minute, but first, this message. Now it's time to meet our special guest for the evening. One of the funniest fellows in our business, whose engagement at the Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas is breaking all records and has done it a couple of times in the past. Here's Buddy Hackett. Buddy's going to tell us in a moment why he took the panels, pencils, and...
Hi, Steve.
Hiya, Bud.
Hi, Phil.
Why'd you take all those notepads and things away from the panel?
I forgot. I took the notepads and the pencils because what we're going to do now is a memory test, And if they have the pencils and the pad, they might be tempted to cheat and write it down, and then they wouldn't be remembering, Debbie. Yeah. Yeah, I happen to know you group off the stage. Yeah, Betsy, you better not do that.
Well, as you remember, panel, we played this game once before with Buddy, and it was a lot of fun. I'm going to put a number of biographical questions to him, and I'll try to make notes of his answers.
Oh, I can only answer things about myself.
That's even better. Okay? And all you have to do is listen to his answers very carefully.
Is that a question?
Not definitely, no.
Okay.
Listen to his answers very carefully, because when I finish the interview, when I finish putting the questions to him, then I will ask the panelists the same questions to find out how many of the facts that Buddy gave us.
Look at these rotten pencils. A big studio like this, CBS, they got millions of dollars, they can't even have a pencil sharpener. They got a trained beaver to gnaw the ends off.
The first question is, what gnaws the ends off in the...
A beaver.
That's right, 5 points. But anyway, that's exactly how the game will go when we get to it. You all set, panel?
No.
Not really.
Okay, Buddy, now here are the questions. What is your real name, sir?
My real name, I was born with the name Leonard Hacker.
All right.
And I had some nicknames over the years.
Such as?
Well, I used to be Butch Hacker, then Booch, and then Buddy Hackett.
All right.
That's the name I've had the past 21, 22 years. So.
And where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn, the Williamsburg section of Brooklyn, and you want the street?
All right.
Kosciuszko Street. 504 Kosciuszko Street, and my father was furious at my mother if she could have only held out to DeKalb Avenue. He couldn't write Kosciuszko.
That's a break.
Kosciuszko was a famous general that came from Poland to help with the revolution for the United States. But I didn't have nothing to do with that. We weren't even living there then.
All right. Now, would you tell us what formal education you've had?
But there was nothing formal. You dressed however you want.
I see.
And I went to an elementary school, PS 103. See, Kosciuszko Street was where we had our summer home. And then we moved to our winter abode, which was on 54th Street and 14th Avenue. That's PS 103. Then I went to New Utrecht High School. New Utrecht High School in Brooklyn. New Utrecht. It's a Dutch name, Utrecht. Of course, the Dutch originally sat in New York. They come in one day and say, "All right, settle down." And that was New Utrecht High School. A lot of famous, people in show business went to Abe Burrows, Michael Kidd, you know, he's a choreographer. Phil Greenwald from the Concord, he went there. You know who Phil Greenwald? You don't need to know him. You know plenty of people. Harvey Lembeck went there, and Dane Clark. His name was Bernard Zainville. His father had the candy store up on the corner where we lived. Oh, yeah. Mr. Zainville, can I have a chocolate soda, please? Oh, it's so sweet. Put a little more seltzer. Oh, it's too not sweet enough. Put a little more syrup, a little more seltzer, a little more syrup, and ate 14 sodas for a nickel. All right. He came in, he told me to take my business elsewhere.
The next question, Buddy, is did you
Jack Carter went to the school, too.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Did you have any jobs after school?
After school at 3 o'clock, I had a job in the grocery store for Sidney Pullman, and then for Doc Cohn, and then I worked for Doc Cohn's brother at night. See, Doc Cohn, he was a druggist doctor, but his brother was a real doctor.
And you worked for the doctor?
I used to answer the phone. I was about 13, 14. I worked there about 3 years. At night, he would take his mother out for a ride in the car for an hour. He was a very good son, that's one thing. I don't know how good a doctor he was. He was a terrific son, I'll tell you that. They don't have sons like that. My son should be such a son. That's acting, Steve. I worked in this doctor's office. I used to answer the phone, you know. If the phone rang and people would say, "Is the doctor there?" I said, "No, he's with his mother in the car, right?" So, "When will he be back?" I said, "I don't know." And they'd be in a panic, so I figured maybe I could help. I said, "What's the matter?" "Oh, this guy's bleeding from the..." I'd look it up in a book. See, I'd try to tell them, but they never hanged on. But I'd get to read the book pretty good. After about a year and a half, they said, "Is the doctor in?" I said, "This is the doctor." I read the book plenty. I told him a lot of good things. He lost a lot of patients. I don't mean they went to another doctor. They took my advice. They were gone. They went around the block.
Okay, the next question. What was your first
Are you
job?
remembering this? Oh, yeah. Well, panel, you are.
What was your first job in show business?
My first job, the Golden Hotel in Hurleyville up in the Catskill Mountains. I worked up there one nighter, and I didn't get one laugh. And I did part of my act in Yiddish and part in English, and nobody laughed. And it was Spanish Jews. They only understood Spanish, you know. Sephardic Jews, you know. You had to drink out of a goatskin bag and spray it on them.
Have you ever taken singing lessons?
I took singing lessons under the GI Bill of Rights, and they said I don't have that much of a right. I went to a lady named Mabel Horsey.
All right.
At 1697 Broadway on the 12th floor. Her name is that was the CBS building at that time. And I don't think it means anything, but that's what it was.
All right. Have you ever taken dancing lessons?
I studied in Nick Castle's studio in 1952. I did some tour. There was a lady taught me. We forgot to dance. I was single at the time. We had a wonderful romance. I would have never done it with Nick, but the lady was terrific.
All right. Have you ever had acting lessons?
Well, I did belong in the YMHA in Borough Park. I did belong to a group known as the Candlelight Players, and I studied the technique. You know, the Stanislavski technique. And after a while, I discovered that you're supposed to only use that for a little while until you develop a technique of your own.
Mm-hmm.
But I found out that I was just wonderful with or without it, so I stopped.
Okay, well, those are the questions, panel. You've heard Buddy's answers. Now we'll start back
Who came in with a car? Well,
that means the submarine is about to submerge in the water. That's what it is. Now, panel, we're going to ask you the questions again. We'll start with Betsy, left to right here.
All right.
What is Buddy Hackett's real name? His original name, I should say.
Well, his original name is Hacker.
Yeah.
And his name was, begins with an L.
Right.
I want to say Leander, but that is...
Right.
No.
Go ahead and say
anything you
Leonard Hacker.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they called you Butch, and they called you Boach, and you finally turned out to be Buddy Hackett.
Right.
Yes.
What a swell thing.
Bill Cullen, where was Buddy Hackett born?
On Kosciuszko Street in Brooklyn, 504.
How did you know that?
Very good.
That was at 506.
And who was Kosciuszko?
He was a Polish fellow who came over and helped out with the revolution, but they didn't live there then.
That's what you think. Talk about old buildings.
That's funny stuff.
All right, Bess. Would you tell us what formal education Buddy had?
Well, it wasn't formal. He never dressed. But he went to PS 103, and then they moved up to 54th and 14th Avenue, and he went to New Utrecht High School.
Very good.
And what was my teacher's name?
Mabel Horsey.
No,
No, that was another...
No, in high school.
But
I
he
don't
didn't
think you
say
mentioned
it,
the
You
name.
didn't do
So
any...
what? Take a guess.
No, you didn't do any horsing around in high school. All right, Henry, it's your turn now.
Arthur Schlesinger.
What jobs, Henry, did he have after school?
He worked for somebody named Pullman and for a Dr. Cohen, and he answered the phone while the doctor took his mother for a ride every an hour in the neighborhood. And he read the book while people called on the phone to ask him what to do for bleeding. And for a year and a half, he'd answer the phone and say, "This is the doctor."
Very good. Okay, Betsy, what was his first job in show business?
His first job in show business was in Golden Hills, I believe it was, in the Catskills.
The Golden Hotel.
The Golden Hotel in the
Very
Catskills.
good.
Yes, and you spoke in English and in Hebrew, and they didn't
No, in
understand
Yiddish.
it because they because they were Sephardic Jews, and you had to do things all over them with a goat bag or something.
Bill Cullen, from whom, if anybody, did he take singing lessons?
I think that was Mabel Horsey.
Right.
Mabel Horsey. He
1697.
studied on the GI Bill of Rights, but no one has that much right.
Right. Who did he study dancing from, Bess?
With Nick Castle.
Very good. And Henry, one quick last one. What about acting lessons?
I belonged to Candlelight Players, but they did the Stanislavski method until they found out that you're supposed to
technique, he
progress
said.
beyond that, and he was wonderful both ways, and today he's a little fatter.
I'm very proud of you, Patty. You got 100%. Very good. We'll be back in a minute after this important message. Buddy, I hope you'll come back some more soon and give us some more answers and questions. It's always a ball to have you. Good night, panel. Good night, everybody.
right, Secret fans, did you know that Carol Burnett has a secret crush on Rock Hudson, and Rock is going to be her guest on the color special Carol and Company? It's true, so peek in next Sunday night at 10, 9 Central Time.